Hi, this is lesson 1.2. It's about angles, and it starts with exactly the same two that segments had, part equals part, or part plus part equals whole. I will give you those examples, and then there are some variations showing some terminology about angles that you need to be really familiar with. Okay, so part equals part. I will draw it on the board. And for part equals part, they will either have labeled that this ray goes down the middle and is the angle bisector. Means it cuts the angle into two equal parts. Sometimes they might just indicate with the little curves. And if this part were 30 degrees and this part were 2x degrees, you'd need to solve for x. So in solving for x, we would set up 2x equals 30. Divide both sides by 2, x equals 15. That's part equals part. Very similar to the segments. Here's little plus little equals big, or angle addition. Uses that and a little bit more. Poor drawing. These two are supposed to be identical. There's letters on here. X, W, Z. And if you looked at the PowerPoint, you know we always label with the vertex. So angle XWY is the same degrees, even though my drawing isn't, as VWX. Always W in the middle. Then it gives you that if the measure of angle, M for measure, XWZ, the whole thing. So little plus little equals the whole big thing. If measure of angle XWZ is 127 degrees, what is the measure of YWV? What's measure angle YWV? And it also tells you that this one is 32. And since those have those marks, this one is also 32. So that tells us that this little one, 32, for XWY, this part, plus the measure of angle YWV, plus that little part, which is also 32, equals the total 127. Okay, so now we could replace that with x if we wanted, but we can just leave it like that and say 32 plus 32, combine like terms, measure of angle YWV plus 64 equals 127. You have to subtract 64 from both sides. Measure of angle YWV equals 63. Any question on that one? Would be the first. I will pause it if you do have some, and we can look more on that. Then I want you to look at some other ideas about angles. Here's an idea. If you have a line, then I'm just going to concentrate on a portion of it. A to B is a segment, a portion of that line. And if I took another line and did exactly right, line L would split A to B in half at the point M, the midpoint. In other words, this line bisects the segment AB. It cuts AB in half. It also meets at 90 degrees, which we show with a box. So this angle is 90, and this angle is 90, and this angle is 90, and this angle is 90. These are called perpendicular for the 90 degrees, bisector. L is the perpendicular, instead of the word perpendicular, you can use an upside down T. Line L is the perpendicular bisector of A to B, and instead of writing that it's a line segment, I can use a line segment symbol. All these symbols you sort of have to get used to. That's why you had the sheet to fill out at the beginning of this unit. The next thing that you have to be more familiar with, and you will use these all year. If two lines cross, it creates 1, 2, 3, 4 angles, and I'll put that they're angle A, angle B, angle C, and angle D. And the ones that are sitting opposite each other, B and D, angle B is the same as angle D. And angle A is the same as angle C. And these are vertical angles. And vertical angles are congruent. There's another symbol. You can stop anytime any of this is not coming in clearly for you. That symbol means congruent. That means it has the same angle, same degrees. However many degrees D is, B matches. However many degrees A is, C matches. The next type of angles, if we start with a line, if we had a protractor, do you know how many degrees that is? Hopefully you remember that that's 180 degrees. If we put another ray in here, we've created 1, 2 angles along with the third angle, the 180 degree line. And so whatever angle 1 is plus whatever angle 2 is, they will always add up to the whole. Little plus little equals big, the whole angle, which is 180 degrees. So linear pairs, those are called linear. From a line, we get 2 angles. Pairs 2. Linear pairs, angle 1 and angle 2 are supplementary. There's a new word. Means they add up to 180 degrees. Measure of angle 1 plus measure of angle 2 equals 180 degrees. Here's another thought in this unit. All right angles. Do you remember how many degrees a right angle is? 90. Are the same, are congruent. All right angles are congruent. They are all 90 degrees. And if 2 angles are the same or congruent and supplementary, that means they add up to 180. What plus what? Same numbers add up to 180. Or what's 180 divided by 2? You should have got 90. And so if 2 angles are congruent and supplementary, they are right angles. 2 more to get there. You're almost there. The congruent supplements theorem. It's called congruent supplements theorem. If 2 angles are supplementary to the same angle, then, so let's look. If this is 30 degrees, how many do we have to add to 30 to get 180 so it will be supplementary? 180 minus 30, 150. And if this is 150, how much do we have to add to it to get 180? 30. So if two angles are supplementary to the same angle, this one is supplementary to the 150, and this second angle is supplementary to the 150. So what do we notice about these two angles? They're the same. They are congruent. The congruent complements theorem says the same thing, but instead of supplementary, it's complementary. Do you remember how many degrees complementary is? If two angles are complementary, 90, they add up to 90, to the same angle, then they are congruent to each other. I almost ran out of room. If you have any questions on any of it, join a meeting in my plan time or email me. Please be sure and call. Thank you. Bye.